What are the secrets to pacing on the ACT reading section? Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Kat, and I'm the ACT expert here at Magoosh. Today's topic is going to include 4 tips for slower readers and how to improve on the ACT reading section. Because as many of you know, the reading section goes by really quickly, and a lot of people, most people, run out of time unless they practice some really important skills. So I have 4 skills to go over, but the first one actually doesn't have to do with reading speed at all. It does have to do with pacing though, and it's probably the most important skill in a lot of ways. And that is analyze, okay? Especially when you're first learning and first practicing this material, rather than focusing on timing, I want you to analyze the questions that are being asked of you. What does that mean? Well, there are different ways you can analyze the questions, but the most important thing you can do, and probably the most effective thing, is to go and look at the question, try and answer, read the explanation, and do that for every single question, okay? The easy questions, the simple questions, read all the reasons that questions are wrong, and it's a little tedious, isn't it? It's something that most students aren't going to take the time to do. Most students are going to try right away to speed up, but you're not. You're going to spend some really quality time analyzing. And what that's going to do is it's going to make you really familiar with the test questions, okay? And so it doesn't sound like it's going to speed you up, but it will. It doesn't just improve accuracy, it improves your overall speed. The second tip for the reading section actually is about pacing. So once you've gotten pretty familiar with questions, and I would like you to go through about 4 passages worth of questions before you start focusing on the timing, but at that point you're ready, okay? So let's talk about the timing a little bit on the ACT reading section. You have 35 minutes. You have 40 questions. Obviously that's less than 1 minute to answer a question. You've got 4 passages. So how do you figure out how to make this happen for you? Well, I think it's a pretty good, good guideline. So for tip 2, to give yourself 8 minutes for each passage. That's going to get you to the 32-minute mark. So if you go a little over 8 minutes, you'll still be in good shape. You can use those extra few minutes to go back and maybe answer questions you weren't totally sure on. So aim for 8 minutes. I want you to focus on the timing more during your practice so that when you get into the actual exam, you're not obsessing about minutes, all right? So these tips for timing are most important while you're practicing. Okay, this is practice help for you. 8 minutes per passage. Now what does this 4 to 4 mean? Well, what we found is that a lot of students, when they start learning how to do these passages, these reading comprehension questions, they spend too much time initially reading the passage. We at Magoosh really strongly believe, we all concur, that it's good to read the passage before you start answering the questions. And I know there is some debate on that topic, but 4 minutes is the maximum I'd like you to spend actually reading the passage. Some of you have probably already seen these passages and you know they're pretty long. This is not something you could do if you were trying to read it at regular speed. This is called speed reading. This is called skimming. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in step 3, but just so you know, 4 minutes to skim, and then you've got 4 minutes to answer the questions that go with that passage. A lot of your reading time is actually still going to be going on in those 4 minutes. So this is your skimming time. This is when you're answering the questions, but you're not going to get all the facts in those 4 minutes because you're going too fast. So even though we're talking about 4 minutes to read, 4 minutes to answer questions, a lot of the reading is still going to be happening because you're going to be looking at the questions, going back to the passage, and actually noticing detail that you missed the first time. And you should miss it the first time because you're going to be going really fast. So I have 2 more tips for you, but if you've made it this far, good job. I really appreciate your attention. And as an Easter egg, what I'd like you to do is to go ahead and leave us a comment. Ask us a question about what part of the reading test you find the most difficult. What issues come up for you? What hurdles do you have? And you can be as specific as you want, and we'll get back to you. We'll respond to your comments. At this point, you might be wondering, okay, but how do I read that fast, right? This is what the video is about. How do I pick up the speed of reading? How do I do a whole passage in 4 minutes? Okay, so I'm going to show you the tip that I've been using all the way through school. I still use it. I probably use this skimming tip almost every day because I love to read nonfiction. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. And this is a skill that will last you a lifetime. All right, so this is my strategy. This is how I skim the material that I'm trying to comprehend, but maybe not at a super deep level. And some of you might have learned this because I know that sometimes this is taught by teachers. I know other techniques are taught as well, but this is the one that's worked for me over and over again. So let's say this is your reading passage. Now the actual reading passage on the ACT is going to be significantly longer than this. This is more about the length of an English passage. So imagine like twice this length. Okay, quite a number of paragraphs. What you want to do is start up here with number 1, read the first paragraph at normal speed. You might even read just a tiny bit slower than you normally would. The first paragraph's really important. There's a lot of important information there. From there, I want you to go all the way down to the conclusion and read the bottom paragraph. And again, I want you to read this pretty slowly. Maybe as slowly as you read the very first paragraph. Okay, so these are the 2 that you're going to try and comprehend early on in quite a bit of detail. After that, you're going to look at the body paragraphs. So you're done with that actual reading, no more reading. Now you're skimming. You start up here, first sentence of the first body paragraph. Read the first sentence pretty quickly, barely glance at the middle, maybe just kind of pick up some keywords, read the last sentence of that body paragraph, and then you move on to the next body paragraph, okay? First sentence, last sentence, first sentence, last sentence. And at first this is going to feel weird. You're going to feel like you're not getting all the information, but you're actually getting a lot more information than you realize, and so much information is found in the first and the last paragraphs. It doesn't mean that's where your answers are going to be found when you actually go and answer the questions. Okay, so I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that all the information is there. I'm saying that you're going to get the good general big picture and understanding of the exam by focusing on the beginnings and endings of each piece. Another common problem people run into, and this is actually a problem that people who are both really fast readers and slower readers, everybody at one point or another faces this problem, and this is boredom. This is trying to figure out, wait, what did I just read? It's going over the same sentence or same paragraph 3 times. It's that feeling of it's boredom, really is what it is. It's frustration, it's boredom. Okay, so my 4th tip is to try to make this fun. And to do that, you're gonna have to use your imagination, all right? You're gonna have to figure out, what game am I gonna play with in my mental headspace that's going to make this seem like a high investment, low risk game. And the way I kind of think about it, and sorry if this example doesn't work for you, but I think it's how I think about how do you make something into a game, how to use your imagination and make something that's not so fun seem like a lot of fun. It's just thinking about like little kids out, maybe 6 years old, out digging for treasure in their backyard, right? At some point, by the time you're 6 or 7, you're not going to be finding gold. There's no pirate's chest down there or anything like that. But if you get your imagination worked up enough, you can actually get caught up in the moment, all right? So do whatever you can. Pretend it's a game. Pretend there's a cash prize associated with getting the questions right. But what's really important about this tip is that I don't want you to think about this in relation to competing against other people, because that's going to make you more nervous if you're already feeling a little bit anxious about the exam. Make this a game about getting as many questions correctly as you can and beating whatever you did yesterday, whatever you did the week before, and really keep the focus on that level. So fun, imagination. I know it doesn't always sound like it's fun to do a reading passage. It's not for a lot of students, but I challenge you. How can you make this a game for you? What would make this seem like something worth paying attention to, worth investing in? What's going to grab you? So I hope you found those tips helpful. If you did, hit the like button. You can subscribe to our channel, get more tips from us at Magoosh. And that's it. I hope you have a fantastic test day and good luck with your studies.